Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 22nd September 2025. So let's get started with our discussion guys and let us see the first article. See the title, one time H1B fee for new applicants says US. So what is this article talking about? Okay, it is talking about H1B visa. In the recent class, I discussed about how many types of visas that US is providing, right? So again, yes, you can connect that visas with this present article. And this article is talking about H1B visa. And this H1B visa is related to what? Okay, students who are studying, and apart from that? Okay, so here this article is important from India-US relations. And here you have to see about first important area that you have to focus is different types of visas that US provides. Different types of visas, and you may get a match the following based question from this area. And next you have to see about specifically what is this H1B visa, why US came up with this. And next you have to see like what are the present changes that they are going to do. What are the present changes? And next you have to see what is its impact on our India especially. Okay, all these areas that you have to see guys. So now let us see this article in detail. So recently President of US, that is Donald Trump, he came up with one presidential proclamation. And through that presidential proclamation, he came up with this restriction on entry of certain non-immigrant workers. So through this, he wants to impose some restrictions in this H1B visa program. So actually this H1B program, it is mainly dealing with skilled non-immigrant workers actually, especially if you want to get higher education, if you want to do job here, or else if you're working in any MNC, if you want to go to US and work in that company like that, you need to get this visa for sure, or else you'll be not getting entry into US. So actually now what is the change they are coming up with is, so they are asking to pay entire amount for this H1B visa at once only. And who should pay that? The parent company who wants to get other skilled workers from other country to their company. If they want to get, they have to get this H1B visa done, and for that parent company need to pay entirely the sum of amount at a once. That is a change that mainly came up by this thing. And actually they are asking to pay US dollars 1 lakh at a time now. Earlier they can pay in installment wise, but they are saying that you have to pay at once. So what happens if this kind of changes come up by this US? So can this companies will pay this much lump sum amount at a once? No, because of that what happens? So it will discourage the companies to get skilled workers other than this US, right? If they want to get any workers from other countries, what happens? They have to pay this lump sum amount of 1 lakh dollars now at a once. So it will be like hefty burden on the companies. So that here US wants to discourage other skilled workers from other countries. That means they want to promote their own country's skilled workers, guys. Okay, so now why this change which came up by this US now? Because it claims that some employers are using this H1B visa program to replace Americans with low paid foreign workers. So actually if companies, if they want to skilled workers from America, they have to pay huge amount, right? If they are getting the same skilled workers from other countries, they can pay less amount. So here one important allegation here is, so many companies are using this H1B visa program and they are replacing these Americans with other countries' skilled workers. So here they want to promote these jobs for their Americans only. That is a first important step. And next one is this proclamation states that the abuse of this program has been investigated in connection with visa fraud. So recently we discussed about one important problem in our country. What is that? Money laundering. Especially the people from this Punjab had been caught, and US is also doing some investigations regarding that dirty money, everything, right? We discussed that, right? So in the same way here, now US is alleging that yes, this program has been abused because there is a visa fraud is happening, and even money laundering is happening, and even other illicit activities are happening because of this H1B visa. So we want to control, or we want to restrict this H1B visa. This is second important reason they said. And this one here is H1B visa was intended to bring high skilled workers when American workers are not available or unavailable. But when it is used instead to undercut the locals, the claim it diverges from that intent. So actually why they came up with this H1B visa concept in this US is, actually they are not getting the skilled workers from Americans. At that time, if they want to bring the skilled workers from other countries, yes, they came up with this concept. But now this H1B visa program is used by US companies to undercut their locals. Locals are not getting the skilled employment opportunities. So because of this, they want to increase the restrictions on this H1B visa now. So if you see some facts about this H1B visa, it is a non-immigrant visa, and this visa which allows this US companies to hire and to employ foreign workers for specifically jobs like science, technology, engineering and mathematics. That is nothing but STEM, and even in IT sectors, and at least with a bachelor degree, guys. And actually US came up with this concept in year 1990 to address this problem of skilled shortage in this US. Okay, and even some non-immigrant visas which also allows the temporary entry of students into US for tourism, for business, for work, for study, or any medical treatment. Also we have to take this H1B visa. Now US is increasing its restrictions on this H1B visa, and actually this is going to affect Indians the most, because under this H1B visa, so the people who are going to US are majorly Indians. And the second country from which the students will go to US under this H1B visa is China. So because of this, obviously it is going to affect on our Indians. Why? Because many students after completion of their graduation, they will go to US for their masters. And this one here is, if they want to get opportunities, yes, they will be going to foreign countries. And even you know that many Indians are working in these MNC companies in India. So if they want to get promotion, or if they want to do certain projects, again they have to go to US. So in this way, what happens, lots of impacts that we can see on our Indian economy, and as well as our society and education, everything is. Okay, so because of this step which is taken by US, again it is going to increase the conflict between India and US. Already lots of issues are going between India and US. What are there? First one is tariff, second one is deporting of Indians back to India. Next, the third one here is this visa issue, guys. Okay, so in this way you have to connect everything. And actually, what is the visa duration if you get this H1B visa? It is maximum of 6 years. Okay, and if you want to apply or extend for this H1B visa, and you have to come back to India and you have to stay at least 1 year, and after that again you can file for this H1B visa. Okay, and now let us see the next article. See the title, guys. Accept our MOU to get funds for schools, Pradhan tells Tamil Nadu. So what is this article talking about? It is talking about something related to funds. Funds related to schools. Schools is nothing but education. Okay, so this article is talking about schemes related to education. So if you're talking about the schemes here, how many types of schemes do we have? Yes, we have 2 types of schemes, guys. First one is central sector schemes, and next one is centrally sponsored schemes. So if we are talking about any schemes in India, we have 2 types of schemes. One is central sector schemes, one is central sponsored schemes. So what is the difference between these two? It is about the funding, guys. So actually the central sector scheme, 100% of funds that will be provided by the central government to state. That means state cannot bear. If we have the central sector schemes, there is 0% of spending for the states regarding that implementation of schemes. If it is a centrally sponsored schemes, so center will be giving certain percentage of the funds and states have to bear the remaining percentage of funds. For example, center is giving 60 percentage, then states need to bear 40 percentage. If center is giving 50 percentage, states need to bear 50%. If it is giving 90%, it has to bear 10%. So like that, in this centrally sponsored scheme, central will be giving certain amount and the remaining money should be spent by this state itself. So actually we have many education related schemes. So most of them are centrally sponsored schemes, guys. So now actually Tamil Nadu is not getting funds related to the centrally sponsored schemes regarding education. Why? What is the reason? So regarding education, government came up with this NEP. What is this NEP? National Education Policy in 2020. So the states which are accepting this NEP and if they are implementing an NEP and if they are signing this memorandum of understanding with center, so those states will get this funds under this centrally sponsored scheme. But Tamil Nadu is not implemented. Tamil Nadu not implemented this NEP, and actually it is quite against this NEP. So because of this, Tamil Nadu state is not getting any funds regarding this education which is related to centrally sponsored scheme. So now here Pradhan is nothing but our Union Education Minister. Our Union Education Minister, he said that sign agreement or memorandum of understanding with central government. Then only we are going to release funds related to the school. So that is about this story, guys. Okay. So in schemes we have two types, central sector and central sponsored. In central sector, 100% funds will be given by center, and the central is sponsored, so central will be giving certain percent and state have to spend the remaining amount. So here NEP is not implemented in Tamil Nadu, so because of this central government is not releasing funds regarding Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan program. And now our Union Education Minister said that sign MOU, that is nothing but agreement with central government, so that we can release funds for this Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. Okay. So here what all you need to see? You need to see about the schemes. Already in 2020 there was a question prelims that what is the difference between this central sponsored and central sector scheme. And next you have to know about what is this NEP and you have to know about what are the programs which are covered under this NEP, guys. Very, very important. Okay, now let us see the context. So Union Education Minister, he publicly asked Tamil Nadu government to sign memorandum of understanding with center to unlock, to receive central funds for school education. And he also made one statement, guys. So this statement is like politically rival statement. He said that you cannot put your political priority above the interest of Tamil Nadu students. So you should not keep your political party priority. You have to focus on the education of people. So that is a statement he made. Okay, so if you see the details, it says that MOU is a formal agreement between Union Ministry of Education and as well as now state governments. So if they want to get the funds regarding this centrally sponsored scheme, yes, they have to sign this agreement so that they can improve school infrastructure, equity and quality under this NEP 2020. So under this NEP 2020, so under the two schemes, the state governments will be getting funds. So first one is PM Shri scheme, very, very important. So under this PM Shri scheme, actually it was implemented recently in 2022 and it is focusing on around 14,500 schools. In that 14,500 schools, around 300 schools in this Tamil Nadu will be getting funds from this central governments. And they want to make them as model schools. Model schools will be nothing but they will be having modern facilities, digital labs and holistic education as per this NEP program. Okay. And actually here under this PM Shri program, central government will be giving 60% of funds and state governments need to bear remaining 40% of funds. So in the 60% of funds, they will be getting 5 crore rupees per school, guys. So here now Tamil Nadu is missing that kind of funds which is coming from the government. So because of this, it is like a very big issue between central government and as well as state government. So actually in the central government, which party is in power? BJP. And in Tamil Nadu, another party. So we can say that there is political tussle which is also going between these two parties. And second program they are going to give fund is Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. Okay, and this scheme, it is for school education from preschool to class 12th. And here also they will be focusing on equity, access of education and quality of education. And actually under this program, the funds will be given especially for teacher training, for textbooks and midday meals program. Okay, and they want to focus on improving of RT, that is right to education for the students, which is a part of Article 21A of our Indian Constitution. And even we have Right to Education Act of 2009, under which we are focusing on improving of education in the states. Okay, and what is this NEP? NEP is nothing but National Education Policy, and this policy will be focusing on especially to address the issues of quality, equity, access and affordability across all levels of education. And actually now this NEP 2020 replaced 34-year-old education policy we had in India. That means it's very, very recent and upgraded version of education policy in India. And it's based on very, very important point, that is Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan Committee. So you may get question like this. NEP 2020 implemented in our country, which is based on which committee recommendations? In that way also you will be getting questions regarding committees. So it is based on Kasturi Rangan Committee, guys. And if you see what are the targets of this NEP, the first one is we have to focus on early childhood to secondary education. There is nothing but we want to make this universalization of education by 2030. So you have to remember this year 2030, we have lots of targets that we have to achieve by this 2030. And this one is we want to focus on foundation literacy and as well as numeracy. So we have to achieve basic reading and as well as numeracy skills by 2025. We don't know whether we'll be achieving that or not. And this one is gross enrollment ratio. Gross enrollment ratio is nothing but children who are above 6 years of age. So compulsory school admission, that is called as gross enrollment ratio. And the target here is 100% in school education by 2030, and in higher education we need to get 50% by 2035. And this one is out of school children. So we have to reintegrate 2 crore children via open schooling. Normally you know that in rural areas there will be very high dropout rates, and especially students who are going to these government schools also they will be having high rate of dropout. Dropout is nothing but they will discontinue their studies, and after discontinuing their studies what they'll do, they'll go for child labor or else helping their family business, like that. Because of that there will be increasing of illiteracy in our country. So we have to reintegrate this 2 crore children via open schooling. So as you all know that we have this concept called as open degree, right? So without going to the college itself, you can attend the examinations and you can get this degree certificate. In the same way, whenever we have this increased dropouts, we have to go for open schooling also, so that we can reintegrate 2 crore children. And this one is we want to focus on teacher training. We have to prepare all teachers for assessment reforms by 2023. That means normally you know that whenever we are going for digitalization of our education, first of all teachers need to know how to operate that equipments. So for that we need to go for training of these teachers. And this one is we want to focus on inclusive and equitable education by 2030. So these are the targets of this NEP till 2030 and as well as 2035, and we have to remember. And if you see what are the basic features of this NEP are, okay, normally we have a different curriculum. So what is a curriculum now? So we have 1st to 10th class. Before that we have KG, that is nothing but kindergarten, like LKG and UKG. And after that we have intermediate. After that we have 3 years of graduation, 3 years or 4 years of graduation. After that we have PG, 2 years of PG, like that. So now we came up with new academic structure. In this new academic structure it is called as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So this first 5 years is nothing but from 3 to 6 years. We have to send these children to Anganwadi centers, or we have to go for preschools or Balavatikas. And next one is class 1 to 2 years will be like 6 to 8 years. So even today, because of this implementation of NEP, there is a very big problem in our education sector. That is, if they get this 6 years only, then they will be getting admission to this first class. Or else again they have to sit in this LKG or UKG. You know this? Pakka sure. they have to born before this June 1st itself. If they get this 6 years, then only they'll be getting admission. I have this problem now. My children will be getting wasted 1 year because of just 5 days delay. And next one is from class 3 to class 5, the age will be like 8 to 11, and this is the next stage. And later on in this 3 years, we have class 6 to class 8. And next one is class 9 to 12 will be like 14 years, and they have to complete this by the age of 18 years. So we have to strictly follow this new academic calendar. So in this, we are focusing on especially foundational stage. In this foundational stage, the first 5 years, the students will be focusing on multi-level play and as well as play-based learning activities, so that their cognitive abilities will be increased. And next one is, in this class 3 to class 5, we are focusing on the preparatory stage. In this, they are focusing on again play, discovery, activity-based, interactive classroom learning. And next one is in middle stage, we are focusing on experimental learning in science, mathematics, arts, social science and humanities. And in the secondary stage, we will focusing on greater critical thinking and as well as student choice of subjects, everything. And this is focusing on especially preschool, actually preschool till 12. So earlier we didn't focus that much on this preschool, but we are focusing on now foundational, because whenever we are having the good basic strong foundation, then only we can build a strong building on that. So that is the thing they are focusing on this NEP 2020, guys. And next one here is, what are the schemes all included in this NEP? So first one is, as I said, we have PM Shri. Second one is Samagra Shiksha. So we know about these two. And apart from this, we have Prerana. Prerana is nothing but we are focusing on week-long residential program which is designed for the students of 9th to 12th class. Okay, next one is we have Ullas. Ullas will be focusing on adults who are like 15 plus years with basic literacy and as well as digital skills. And we have Nipun Bharat scheme, which is focusing on every child to attain this foundation literacy and numeracy at the end of grade 3. And next one is we have National Mission for Mentoring, and is focusing on mentoring and professional support for the teachers. And apart from this, we have Vidya Pravesh, and we have Vidyanjali. So Vidyanjali is nothing but school volunteer management program. And this one is we have Diksha. It is a platform which will offers digital content and teacher training resources. And we have PM Vidya. It is mainly focusing on digital, online or air education, which enables multi-mode access to the education. And next one is Nishita. And next one is PM Poshan. PM Poshan is nothing but they are focusing on midday meals, guys. So these all are the schemes which are the part of this NEP 2020. So after once this class is done, so please see that. So it will be very useful, guys, to write your answers. And next, if you see this image, so this is one famous festival of Telangana state. It is about Batkama festival. And if you're getting this kind of images in the news, obviously it will be very important for your prelims. So you may get questions regarding this folk festivals as well. So actually this Batkama is nothing but a colorful floral festival of Telangana, and it is mainly celebrated by women. And they will use different exotic flowers which will be available in that region, and during which season they will be celebrating during this Dasra, right? That is nothing but in the later half of monsoon season they will be celebrating. And what is the meaning, why they will celebrate this? So whenever they will make this Batkama, which is nothing but step by step they will be arranging the flowers, and on that they will be making this Gauramma. It is made up of especially turmeric. So what happens after making that? So women, they will be gathering at one place and they will sing the folk songs, and as well as they will do some kind of dances, activities, and finally they take this Batkama and they will leave in the water. So actually in monsoon season what happens, we will be getting floods, right? So what happens, so almost all sediments in the nearby, because of this heavy rainfall, they will be coming and they will be reaching whatever the water bodies we have. That means mostly there is a very high chance of infections because of this microorganisms, sediments, everything. So if you are doing this kind of activities, and if you are making this Batkama by using this turmeric, actually turmeric is having antibiotic properties and anti-inflammatory properties. So because of this, there is a control of especially communicable disease by this festival, guys. So every festival is having a certain reason which will be improving overall public safety, guys. Okay, so that is the thing that you have to see here. That's it. And see the other articles here. So this article is saying that India assures Nepal help in rebuilding damaged structures. So what happened in recently in this Nepal? Protest. Who did this protest? Students. Why students did this protest? Because of ban of 26 social media apps, right? So what happened recently? The Prime Minister of Nepal, he resigned, and new Prime Minister, what is her name? First woman Prime Minister of Nepal. Pair Machpara. Okay, so actually what happened here is because of that protest, so this Gen Z, that is nothing but students or youth, they destroyed most of this infrastructure in this Nepal. So as you all know that India and Nepal is having very good relations, and even India is sharing directly boundary with this Nepal. So India is going to take certain activities to rebuild that infrastructure in this Nepal. So where can you use these activities? So in India-Nepal relations, in improving of relations, how this recent relations are improving, or what are the recent challenges that we have. So from that point of view, you can add this article, guys. It is very important from your international relations. And there is one more article, see here, H1B maybe India's tech workers must reduce their reliance on US jobs. So what happened in this US? So US is increasing restrictions on this H1B visa. US is asking to pay amount in a one-time go for the employer. So because of this, now employers will be choosing Americans rather than other country people to work in their companies, right? So because of this, now is it having any impact on our IT sector? Yes, India's IT sector will be having a huge hit because of this decision. So now this article is saying that India's tech workers, if they want to go to US, or if they want to work in US, or if they want to get their masters in US, so here rather than going to US, we have to go for diversification. That's the thing which mainly said here. Nothing more than that. Okay, so because of this step of US, it is going to affect especially China, India, and as well as Russia, and even some parts of Europe is also going to be get affected. So this article is saying that India needs to come up with a long-term plan to reduce reliance of Indian tech workers on the shrinking pool of job opportunities in this US economy. So because of this step here, there will be very less chances for Indian tech workers to work in this US. So because of this, India needs to come up with a long-term planning so that we can decrease our reliance on this US jobs as well. And next one here is, yeah, so actually why this Trump came up with this step, he wants to focus on welcoming of future innovators, job creators and taxpayers to their shores. That means they want to focus on their domestic companies. So because of these domestic companies and their own citizens, so because of this, they want to limit the entry of other foreigners into their country, guys. So that here you have to focus on only this part of this article, because already we discussed about that in other area. Yeah, see this article. Can timelines be fixed for governance? So what is this article talking about? Ascent of governor. So it is related to which state of India? Tamil Nadu. So actually what is happening in Tamil Nadu? Tamil Nadu state government passed 10 important bills, but there is no assent from the governor. And what they did, again they repassed the same bills. But even though there is no assent, what they did, they went to Supreme Court challenging this powers of governor. What is the power of governor? And Supreme Court gave the judgment. Under which articles? Article 200 and Article 201 of our Indian Constitution. And these two articles talks about the powers of governor regarding the passage of bill. And what they said here, so they have to pass bill within 3 months. Okay, actually governor need to give the assent within 3 months of time. And one more point they said is, if state government is passing the bill twice, then that bill will be acting as a money bill. So in this money bill, there is no role of governor. So he has to give the assent. So those two important points they said, right? So the same thing which is given here, nothing more than that. So here this article is saying that Article 200 of our Constitution lays down that when a bill passed by state government or state legislature, it is present to the governor for his or her assent. He has now 4 alternatives, 4 things that he have. So what are those 4 things? First one is he can give assent directly. Second one is he may withhold the assent to the bill. And next one is he can reject the bill. And next one is he can reserve the bill for the consideration of president. And here one more article they gave here, Article 163 subclass 1 of Indian Constitution says that governor need to act as per the advice of Council of Minister, except in so far as he or she is required by or under the Constitution to act as per his discretion. So actually one more article they are saying is Article 163. What is Article 163 says that governor need to act according to this advice of Council of Ministers. Only if he is having any discretionary powers, then only he can act according to his whims and fantasies, or else he has to act as per the advice of Council of Ministers. And next one here is opposition ruled states have argued that governors in such states have been selectively delaying assent or reserving bills against advice of Council of Ministers. So actually in central government now which party is in power? That is BJP party. Do all these states have BJP ruling states only? No, in some states we have BJP ruling states, in some states Congress, in some state their own regional parties are there. So if central government is BJP and state government is BJP, no problem at all. So governor will be passing the bills directly. But it is not the case with this opposition ruled party. So central government is one party and state government is another party. So here who is the governor? Governor is nothing but he will be appointed by the central government itself. So he will be like nominated person, and actually he will be guiding the state whether it is following according to the rules and regulations of the constitution or not. So because of this we'll call him as gubernatorial post. Okay, so here especially in this opposition ruled states, governor is not passing the bills. So it is not only happening in the state of Tamil Nadu, but even in other states also we have this problem where we have opposition ruled states. So here whatever the advice which is given by this Council of Ministers according to this Article 163, they are not following this. So because of this in many states we have this problem of delaying of passage of the bills. If delaying of the passage of bills happens, is that good for the state? No. So if there is any important bill that had to be passed which will be of urgent public importance, and what happens, that bill will be not passed. So people will be getting problems, stuck into the problems. So that is the thing which mainly said, and this is not at all a new topic. So these are the important topics that appeared in our today's Hindi newspaper guys. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much for watching, and please do like this class and share this class. And you can follow us on Telegram channel and even Instagram guys.